Welcome to our channel. A royal scandal was on the verge of exploding, but it was narrowly averted by one fearless woman, Princess Anne. Recently uncovered from the private chambers of Buckingham Palace, her secret diary exposes a stunning conspiracy, an attempt to undermine Duchess Kate Middleton during a major public charity event. Late-night inquiries, unspoken warnings, and a sharp instinct shaped by a lifetime in the public eye. Princess Anne shielded her niece from danger without ever stepping into the spotlight. Now, long-buried journal entries have surfaced revealing this wasn't mere family loyalty, it was a stealthy royal intervention. Subscribe to our channel for untold royal revelations. And if you're ready to dive into the palace's best-kept secrets, drop a 1 in the comments below. Hints of betrayal hidden in plain view right within the walls of Buckingham Palace. Beneath centuries of protocol and restraint, a secret waited to surface. It was found in an aged leather-bound journal tucked inside a drawer labeled Only Private. The writer, Princess Anne. And within its pages, not just memories, but bombshells exposing a long-suppressed scheme meant to bring down Duchess Kate from within the palace ranks. The original plan seemed harmless, a charity gala, Kate's big speech with global attention. This was a crucial moment to showcase her growing royal role. But Anne's diary tells a different story, one where the backstage corridors buzzed with silent schemes. Assistants had subtly altered Kate's speech, changing phrases that might embarrass or unsettle her on stage. The stage lighting was adjusted to cast uncomfortable shadows, and the pathway to the stage was rearranged at the last minute just enough to throw her off without raising suspicion. Anne's earliest diary entries reveal confusion, then growing worry. She overheard a late-night conversation between two staff members, whispering about making the event memorable in a bad way. At first, Anne didn't think much of it, but as changes unfolded, she realized they were plotting against Kate. The writing sharpened, her handwriting rushed. They're setting a trap for her to fail. The discovery weighed heavily on her. This wasn't politics, it was personal. And the target wasn't just any royal, it was the future queen, a wife and a mother. Anger welled up inside Anne. The plan wasn't to destroy Kate, but to make her stumble appear inexperienced. Just one misstep or a moment of hesitation in public and doubt would spread. She had seen this game before, but never so close. Anne could have told Charles or called William, but she didn't, knowing that if even a few people found out, the scandal would spiral out of control. Instead, she took up her pen and vowed to herself, "This ends with me." The deeper Anne dug, the more profoundly betrayed she felt. Her diary shifted from sharp observations to intense emotions, anger, and hurt. She had spent her life serving the royal family quietly, steering clear of palace drama, never seeking the spotlight. But now what she saw wasn't royal duty. It was underhanded politics fueled by jealousy. Names began to appear in the diary, close aides, event organizers, reputation managers, now rewriting scripts, tweaking sound, deliberately sabotaging logistics. The goal wasn't destruction, but gradual erosion, undermining Kate's credibility through small mistakes, technical glitches, and whispers. Anne wrote plainly, "This is not correction. This is sabotage." Kate's speech, prepared over weeks, was edited to make her appear flustered phrases, removed context, changed, setting her up to stumble, look anxious, or weak. Especially with cameras capturing every moment. Anne couldn't believe this was happening in a family so focused on image and control. She checked the event plan, reread internal memos, watched how staff moved when they thought no one was looking. Every detail matched what she wrote in her diary. This wasn't careless mistake, it was a slow ambush. The diary was full of restrained anger. Sabotaging a charity debut meant to support the vulnerable shows how low things have sunk. Time was running out, and the gala was fast approaching. No one else would stop this. William was away on a diplomatic trip, Charles was tied up in meetings, and Camilla was too caught up in political turmoil to intervene. Anne decided to do what no one else dared: choose loyalty over silence. She wouldn't let her niece walk into disaster, nor did she want to divide the family by involving others. The diary records her decision. "I will act quietly, completely alone if necessary." The palace was quiet, but Anne couldn't sleep. All day she reviewed the progress, spotting the final warning signs. That night she took action. The diary begins with the line, "I can no longer stand by and watch." Anne entered the assistant's office after everyone had left, only the sound of her footsteps echoing in the silence. She chose her moment carefully. On the assistant's desk lay the final sabotage plan, Kate's speech with disruptive notes, lighting instructions, and a changed stage layout designed to disorient her under the spotlight. Anne didn't hesitate. When the aide returned, they stood still. Looking at her, the aide understood. Anne didn't scold, just handed the document back and whispered, "Tell me this is a mistake." The aide stammered in denial, evasive, but Anne knew the truth. She had seen too many lies in the palace to see right through it. This wasn't political. It was personal, a blow to the most vulnerable member of the royal family. Anne's next step wasn't revenge, but correction. She gathered all the altered documents, took them to a private room, and arranged to replace the team organizing the speech. She didn't threaten or make demands. She just left the assistant standing there stunned, knowing the plan had been uncovered. The diary entry at the end of the day reads, "This ends here, not tomorrow or later, but right now, to protect Kate's moment." Starting the next day, Anne took full control. She quietly replaced 2 key assistants with trusted, experienced people, no meetings or explanations, just orders given and close monitoring. Anne's influence didn't rely on power or pressure. It spread naturally. She personally oversaw the lighting setup, measured the distance from each light to the podium, and even spoke privately with the sound technician to ensure no mishaps like Kate's mic cutting out mid-speech. In her diary, Anne called it meticulous protection. When Kate arrived to rehearse, she had no idea she'd nearly faced disaster. She greeted Anne with a gentle grace, and Anne simply smiled, revealing none of the silent battle that had taken place. She had fought quietly for her standing back as her niece practiced the speech, now restored to its original tone, sincerity intact. From behind the curtain, Anne watched every pause, every expression. Kate was radiant, steady, flawless, no stumbles, no hesitation. This was the moment the public would see, but Anne had witnessed the moment that almost happened, the trap she'd dismantled before it had a chance to catch its victim. The next line in her diary reads, "The speech was hers, but the silence about what almost happened is mine." On gala night, Anne stayed backstage, watching the crowd rise to applaud. She didn't step out, there was no need. She had fulfilled her duty, and her reward was witnessing Kate shine exactly as she deserved. Anne's quiet victory. The press called it a perfect evening. The Daily Herald ran the headline, "Catherine captivates at the gala." Royal reporters praised her grace, confidence, and natural charm. No one suspected the plan that nearly ruined everything, because it was the plan itself that almost did. Anne didn't save the gala night for recognition. She did it to protect Kate. In her final entry about the event, Anne quietly reflected, "There will be no medals for this, no stories told, no thanks given." And that was exactly how it was. She knew that if even one detail was off, one light misaligned, or one word misunderstood, the story would change, the press would speculate, and critics would dissect it. But none of that happened. The plot never reached Kate because Anne didn't let it. The next day, the palace went on as if nothing had changed, and to everyone else it truly seemed that way, but Anne knew better. She had faced betrayal and extinguished it before it made a sound. She didn't tell Charles, didn't tell William, not even the whole truth to Kate. She ended her entry with a single thought: let her remember that night as her own, and I will remember it as what almost happened. Then she closed the diary and locked it away. In the quiet after the gala, Anne sat alone in her room, reflecting on what she hadn't done and who she hadn't told. Prince William's name didn't appear once in the diary pages leading up to the event, and that wasn't by chance. The decision to exclude him was deliberate, not out of mistrust, but strategy. Anne's diary was clear: involving William would stir up turmoil, not provide a shield. She worried he'd feel obligated to act, to question, to report. That turmoil would turn into confrontation, and confrontation would drag Catherine into the fire instead of protecting her from it. William was unwaveringly loyal to his wife, no doubt about that, but he was also the heir to the throne, trained to prioritize stability above all else. Anne knew the moment he heard the word plot, he'd immediately raise the alarm. He'd demand explanations, challenge the assistants, and might even drag Charles into it. The whole thing would spiral into a front-page scandal before anyone had a chance to fix it. That's why Anne kept him out of the loop. She remembered a special moment William called after the speech, his voice proud, gentle, full of admiration. "You were born for this," he told Kate. Anne stood quietly across the room, unseen. She said nothing, didn't interrupt. That moment was pure, free from palace politics, and she intended to keep it that way. She feared that if William knew, he might question everything: his staff, their judgment, even his own trust in those around him. Worse, it could make Kate feel vulnerable, as if her success wasn't truly hers but orchestrated. Anne refused to allow that. She bore the burden alone. In her diary, she wrote plainly, "I choose silence not out of weakness, but as a gift." Protecting Kate also meant shielding William from distraction, division, and doubt, keeping the spotlight where it belonged on Catherine, who was growing stronger every day. Power often comes with titles, media attention, or grand ceremonies, but Anne needed none of that. Her power came from steadfastness, from refusing to waver, from staying out of gossip and boasting. Her diary after the gala revealed a woman whose greatest strength was silence. Anne mastered the art of influence without stepping into the spotlight. She craved no fame, sought no admiration, yet her behind-the-scenes impact was undeniable. One diary entry reads, "If I speak, they will listen. If I move, they will follow. I only choose when." That restraint became her trademark. After the near-successful plot, Anne wielded that silent power like a scalpel. She made no formal accusations, stirred no disciplinary investigations. Instead, she quietly but decisively pushed for personnel changes. One assistant reassigned abroad, another moved to a less prominent role. Her guidance was gentle but final. No traces left behind, only resolution. She protected her niece and the crown with the same hand. The diary clearly captured this duality. This family needs warriors who don't swing swords in the spotlight. She was that warrior and always would be. not for recognition, but to hold the fortress steady while others fussed over the paint. Anne's influence didn't cause waves, but it changed the current. What impressed Anne the most wasn't the plot itself, but the risk it carried. The gala wasn't just any public event, it was Catherine's debut in a higher royal role. Cameras, foreign diplomats, global press, all eyes were watching. Anne described that moment in her diary with precision. Just one mistake could cast doubt on her advancement. Just one slip of the tongue could make them question her place. Catherine had built her reputation through grace and consistency, but Anne knew public support was fragile. Just one mistake, one awkward phrase, one poorly timed pause, especially for a woman stepping into greater power. The world can be ruthless, and the press unforgiving. That's what made the plot so dangerous. It wasn't just palace infighting, it was a direct threat to Kate's career. If the plot had succeeded, it wouldn't just be an embarrassing moment, it would cast doubt on her readiness, confidence, and even her authenticity. Anne's diary pages were filled with urgency in the days before the event. What do you think about this story? Is it just a rumor, or is there really a hidden plot threatening Kate's future? If you're fascinated by royal mysteries and want to uncover the truth behind the glamour, comment below. But if you think it's all blown out of proportion and not worth worrying about, leave a 5. We rate every comment, and who knows, your opinion might shape the next chapter. "We are not protecting a speech," she wrote. "We are protecting an era." And she meant it because Catherine wasn't merely reading lines. She was shaping her image, presenting herself not just as a duchess, but as a future queen. By preserving that moment, Anne protected more than just Kate's knight. She safeguarded the future of the crown. The factions within the palace became clear once the applause died down. Anne returned to her diary with a warning tone. The plot was no accident, born not of boredom or ego, but from deep divisions, real factions forming behind closed doors. She wrote about whispered conversations, strategic alliances between long-standing aides and newly appointed ones, and two quiet but clear factions, those loyal to Camilla's circle and those supporting Catherine's vision. It began subtly conflicting memos, overlapping bookings, overlapping priorities, but now it was escalating. The sabotage wasn't just about undermining Catherine. It was about maintaining influence, ensuring the spotlight didn't shift too quickly or for too long. Anne's diary reveals her frustration but not surprise. She had seen this before during Diana's rise and at Charles's lowest points. The palace wasn't always about unity. Sometimes it even eroded that very unity. What made it dangerous, though, was the calculated intent behind it. The conspirators weren't trying to publicly disgrace Kate, that would be too obvious and risky. Instead, they aimed for a subtle misstep, just enough to sow doubt, shake confidence, and stir insecurity in public perception. Anne doesn't name anyone publicly, but in her diary she is precise. She understands the long game and is now tracking every move. The palace isn't at war, but the lines are being drawn, lessons in leadership as the dust begins to settle. Anne's thoughts gradually shift toward philosophy, moving away from damage control. She no longer writes about sabotage, but about leadership. Her conclusion is simple. True leadership doesn't make noise, demand applause, or issue ultimatums. Leadership acts with clarity, restraint, and unwavering purpose. What Anne did for Catherine, stepping in, stepping back, moving pieces quietly without anyone knowing, is her very definition of leadership. You lead best, she wrote, when no one knows you are leading. She hoped Catherine would never know the full story because the victory would mean more if she believed it was her own achievement. Anne did not seek gratitude. She wanted to leave a legacy, and part of that legacy was teaching through action. In the final line of that week's diary, Anne left a message not just for herself, but perhaps for Kate one day. What I protect quietly. What I love, I shield completely. And with that, she closed the page. Anne's diary grew softer in the final pages of the event. The words no longer carried the weight of confrontation or strategy, but instead reflected something more complex, deeply emotional. She had protected Catherine with precision, yet now she wondered if Kate would ever truly know what had been done for her. Anne had never told Kate directly. After the gala, they shared a quiet moment backstage. Kate embraced her with heartfelt gratitude, thanking her for being there. Anne simply smiled and nodded, but behind that gesture was a shield, a mission of rescue, and a series of silent decisions that had quietly changed the course of the evening. In her diary, Anne revealed her inner conflict. She deserves to know, but I need her to believe she did it all on her own. That belief is crucial. Once confidence wavers, it's hard to regain. Anne didn't want Kate to doubt every future victory, to wonder who was behind the scenes pulling strings. She wanted her to walk confidently, completely unaware of the moment she nearly stumbled. But she also admitted that one day, Kate might find the diary or hear the story from someone else. That thought unsettled Anne. Would Kate feel betrayed? Would it diminish the value of her victory or deepen the bond between them, showing that Anne did everything to protect her? That question lingered in Anne's final reflections on the matter. She wrote something different, not strategy or observation, but a truth. Sometimes love means letting others take the credit. Sometimes it means stepping aside after you've paved the way. Her silence was a gift, but the burden was hers alone to bear. After the event had passed, Anne once again focused her mind on the diary, which recorded everything, every risk, every decision, every quiet detail. One morning she glanced at its spine and wondered what would happen if it fell into the wrong hands. She had never wanted it to become evidence or spark a scandal. It was a repository of memories, a private space of truth, not a trigger for trouble. But now she could no longer deny its power. Every line was a story the public would never hear, every page a deep insight into how the palace operated alliances, vulnerabilities, and silent betrayals. She wrestled with the thought of whether to keep it secret or reveal it. Would revealing it honor Catherine or harm her? Would it expose loyalty or ignite a new spiral of chaos? Anne was not afraid of exposure, but she respected caution. "The diary is a mirror," she wrote, "and some reflections are not meant for the drawing room." Yet part of her still wondered, if the monarchy needed more mirrors, more honesty, if more people could see what I see, perhaps the conspiracy wouldn't have happened. Maybe there would be fewer factions, less fear, fewer games. The question remained unanswered. The diary was carefully returned to the drawer, locked away but not buried. She left one final note on its spine: not to be destroyed, but to be handled with care, for the truth, when unprotected, can either heal or shatter. Anne always believed that legacy is not built through speeches or ceremonies, but in the quiet moments no one sees the unspoken decisions. As she penned the final lines in her diary, she realized the full picture of what she had done. She hadn't just saved a speech, she had protected the future not only of Kate, but of the entire monarchy. The scheme aimed to undermine Catherine's image as she stepped more clearly into the spotlight, but Anne did the opposite, reinforcing that image in everyone's eyes. It was not just an act of protection, but also of guidance. She gave Kate something no one had given her when she was young, and under pressure she stood in the shadows, shielding her granddaughter. Anne didn't need anyone to know about it, but she hoped the spirit of what she had done would echo, reminding everyone in the palace that loyalty is not just a rule or bloodline, but an act, steadfast, quiet, and enduring protection. She ended the last page with 4 lines of poetry written with the intent of unwavering strength. She walks onto the stage with strength. I walk through the palace with resolve. They will remember her smile, but I will remember why it's still there. And with that, the journal closes not a story of drama, but a testament to duty, love, and the silent power of standing guard when it truly matters. The moment of Princess Catherine was almost taken away, but Princess Anne made sure it remained hers. The public never saw the danger that was by design, a quiet journal, a silent guardian, and a legacy of loyalty that may never be spoken but will never be forgotten. Some heroes never stand in the center of the stage. What do you think about Princess Anne's quiet sacrifice? In a world that's always craving attention, can loyalty that doesn't seek the spotlight still be truly valued? If you believe that sometimes the silent ones are the strongest, leave a 0 in the comments below. But if you think that in the royal family, no one is ever truly impartial, type 5 and share your perspective. And if you want to discover more untold stories from the royal court, don't forget to subscribe, because behind every perfect photo, there's always a part of the truth no one has ever shared. Prince William has resumed his royal duties for the first time since his father's cancer diagnosis and has spoken candidly about the family's health challenges. "We are incredibly grateful for everyone's care and kindness," he said. Still, the impact of the recent revelation was beyond what anyone expected. King Charles has been diagnosed with a grave illness, one that alters everything and, according to several sources, cannot be cured. Behind the palace's thick stone walls, he has begun to prepare for what few are willing to face the end. Letters are now being written. Duties are being discreetly handed over. In a personal message to Prince William, just 1 line appeared. "Now it's your turn." The king is making fewer public appearances. His calendar is beginning to shift, and a quiet stillness is slowly descending over the United Kingdom. As emotional goodbyes unfold, one pressing question lingers. How will this reign conclude? If you find this story intriguing, drop a comment with the number 1. If not, type 0. Don't forget to share the video, and let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any of our upcoming exciting videos. Now let's dive into the story. The countdown has begun for King Charles. His goodbye, subtle and without ceremony, has already started. There was no royal announcement, no formal address, just a handwritten note penned by the king himself. His script, his words, his emotion. "Now it's your turn. Take it, and do better than I did." A short message that changed everything. Inside the palace, the royal family is facing an inevitable truth. A close source shared the king's illness is incurable and advancing. While specifics are still private, those nearest to him admit he has started saying his goodbyes. He's putting everything in order, a palace aide revealed. It's more than just documents or formalities. It's intimate handwritten letters, personal messages, final words, and quiet reflections. Not only did he send a letter to William, but another marked private was also delivered to Prince Harry via a secure diplomatic channel. What's inside that letter only Harry knows. However, a source said it was a gesture of peace, possibly the final one. Charles has started skipping many public events. Assistants note his schedule is becoming quieter day by day. Behind the scenes, the royal calendar is being reshuffled. No official statements have been made, because right now the king's focus is on just one thing: the people he will soon leave behind. The silence about his health could no longer be kept. Soon after those private letters were sent, King Charles was admitted to the hospital. This news instantly shocked the entire nation. What began as an ordinary day quickly turned alarming. The king was rushed to the hospital, reportedly because of complications linked to his ongoing treatment. The palace called it a temporary reaction, but many remained skeptical. "There's much they haven't shared," said a former BBC reporter. When schedules shift this fast, something serious is happening. Within hours, all public engagements were canceled without explanation. A key meeting with foreign leaders was delayed indefinitely. Even the official royal website quietly took down several planned events. The media sprang into action immediately. TV anchors started speculating live on air. Was something wrong? Was the situation more serious than expected? A BBC insider suggested that a larger plan could be quietly underway. "We're not just bracing for a routine medical update," they said, "but something far more significant." For many people in the UK, that moment brought a chilling sense of déjà vu. It recalled memories of how the palace handled the final days of Queen Elizabeth II. Silence, then heaviness, sadness. And now, with the king hospitalized, whispers began to grow louder. Is this the sign of the end? The first moment of the final chapter. The pressure mounting on the royal family to reveal the truth was increasing by the hour. But as the palace maintained its silence, others began to speak out, including a figure closely watched by the public with both concern and hope. A cold, hard statement came from Lady Colin Campbell. "If there's one voice in the world of royal commentary that has ever stirred public opinion, it's hers. And this time she made a bolder claim than ever before. There's little hope left for a cure," she said bluntly in a recent podcast. "The palace isn't lying, but they're not telling the whole truth either." Her words instantly sparked waves of debate across royal circles. Lady Colin, who has deep connections within the aristocracy, made a statement that stunned the public. King Charles is struggling with a level of stress that doctors have begun to consider dangerous. According to her, the combination of pressure from the public, declining health, and heavy political responsibilities is pushing the king to the brink. "The king is still trying to hold on," she said, "but we all need to prepare for what's coming." In just moments, clips of her statements flooded social media. Some criticized her for spreading unnecessary fear, but many others said she was simply voicing what they had long sensed. As a result, the public began watching every sign more closely: how Charles looked gaunt in his recent appearances, how he fumbled with papers or paused longer than usual during speeches. "He's exhausted," admitted a longtime palace staffer. "He won't stop, keeps trying to work, but you can clearly see in his eyes he's weakening." Usually whispers like these would be dismissed. But when Lady Colin speaks out, everything changes. Because if what she says is true, the king isn't just battling illness, he's racing against time. The crown on his head, the clock is ticking. Charles waited over 7 decades to wear the crown. His entire life has been preparation, observation, and waiting. Yet now, just months after his coronation, he faces a disease that no title can protect him from. He's doing everything he can, a close source shared. But he knows clearly time is no longer on his side. King Charles is striving to fulfill as many constitutional duties as possible: private meetings with Parliament, discussions about the future of the Commonwealth, and even preliminary talks on internal reforms. But things are getting increasingly difficult. A highly anticipated state visit to Italy, meant to be a powerful milestone in his reign, has now been postponed indefinitely. Doctors have advised him to avoid long-distance travel, yet Charles is reluctant to cancel. For him, every choice now is a trade-off between duty and health, between legacy and survival. He doesn't want to be remembered just for his illness, an insider revealed, but he keenly feels that time is running out. Inside the palace, whispers are growing louder. Could this be one of the shortest reigns in modern royal history? King Charles has yet to announce abdication, but with each passing day, the pressure intensifies. And the one facing the toughest position is Prince William the son, the heir, standing in the enormous shadow of his father. William never wished for things to unfold this way. He remains heartbroken over his father's health, but is quietly preparing to step into the role destiny has assigned him. It's bitter and sweet, a close family friend shared. No one is ready, but William knows the time has come. William has always been proud of his father, but he never imagined this moment would come so quickly. Behind the scenes, he is being brought into private meetings where every sensitive detail is shared. Every protocol, every strategic decision, national emergency plans, all are being communicated to William. And while he tries to stay strong, his wife, Catherine, the Duchess, is facing her own health challenges. The pressure is mounting heavy and relentless. This moment is truly harsh. "He is giving it his all," said an aide inside the palace. "But you can clearly feel the weight pressing down on his shoulders. It's the pain of loss and the sacred duty all at once." William's public presence is no longer what it used to be. The way he speaks, the way he stands now, more like a true head of state. He often appears alone, and every word, every action is scrutinized closely as if people are trying to read the future through him. He is no longer just the heir, a commentator bluntly stated. He's acting like a true king. But while William is gradually stepping into the spotlight, the rest of the royal family continues to wrestle with silent pain. Because illness is not a battle fought by one alone, it's a harsh test for all those loved ones nearby. And then, amid the chaos, an unexpected move happened. A letter was sent to Prince Harry. A family divided by misunderstandings and distance now faces the tragedy of loss. In a moment of silence behind the heavy doors of the palace, King Charles made a decision that stunned even his closest confidants. He requested a letter be sent to Prince Harry. Before it's too late, he is said to have said, "Let there be peace." Those 5 simple words carry more weight than any political statement. They are the whispered plea of a father who does not want to leave this world with a heavy heart. According to sources, the letter was handwritten, unedited, and without input from media advisors. It was simple, raw, and deeply emotional. He wanted Harry to know that he has always been his son. A palace insider revealed. Not a prince, not a political issue, just simply his son. This decision surprised many within the royal circle. Throughout, the rift between William and Harry, Charles had largely kept his distance. But now, facing an irreversible reality, he no longer wants to remain silent. He knows clearly, if not him, then who can mend the rift, the insider added. If not now, then when? As for Harry, will he respond? Will he return? The answer remains unknown. But the seed has been planted, and sometimes in the final moments, the impossible becomes possible. Behind closed doors, quiet conversations are taking place. No cameras, no titles, no ceremonies, just people within a family. And it's precisely these small gestures that could become a turning point for the entire monarchy, not through political decisions, but through deeply human moments. Because sometimes it's loss or the threat of loss that can bring a fractured family back together. As the royal family endures its most profound emotional trial, the world watches every step, every sign, and not everyone believes they're hearing the full truth. The public's reaction paints a complex and colorful picture. Alongside genuine sympathy lies a simmering doubt. As news of King Charles's health began to spread, a wave of emotions swept across England. Some people were moved to tears. "He has endured so much," said a woman in Cardiff during a BBC Street interview. "At last, we have a king. And now, we might lose him. On social media, thousands of messages of support, shared memories, and tributes poured in. People honored his environmental legacy, shared childhood photos of the Prince of Wales, and posted widely circulated images from his youth, accompanied by hashtags like King Charles Farewell and Hold on Your Majesty. However, there were other voices too. The prolonged silence from the palace fueled widespread skepticism. A royal blogger wrote, "Why are we hearing news from insiders rather than directly from the royal family?" Discussions erupted across forums. Some believed the reality was more serious than what was being publicly disclosed. Others thought the king was no longer handling daily affairs, and the palace was deliberately extending the silence. Even media outlets that had traditionally respected the royals' privacy began to question. A headline caught attention. What does the palace know that we don't? The silence has become uncomfortable, shared a political analyst. The British public doesn't like being kept in the dark. Yet the affection for the king remains deeply strong. No one wants this to be the end, wrote one person. Not now, not like this. But as time passes and Charles's absence grows more apparent, public attention begins to shift. They no longer just watch the king gradually stepping back, but also look toward those stepping forward, ready to carry on his legacy. And that leads to a new question. Where is Camilla? Her calm demeanor and frequent public appearances have sparked much curiosity among the public. While King Charles fights his illness behind the palace's closed doors, Queen Camilla continues to be seen smiling at charity events, attending dinners, and even appearing alone at important formal ceremonies. Many wonder why she is out there by herself while her husband struggles with his health. Some see it as a sign of strength, an image of resilience, a queen holding the fortress steady as her husband recovers. She keeps going because she still has responsibilities to fulfill, a close friend of Camilla revealed. But many people wonder, why isn't she by his side? A royal watcher on social media expressed, "If the king is so ill that he has to cancel everything, then what is the queen doing out there?" This isn't the first time they've appeared separately in public. From her time as Duchess to Charles's accession, they have maintained independent roles. However, this time, that distance is making the public increasingly concerned. She's not cold-hearted, just very practical, a former palace staff member shared. She understands that the public image must be maintained, but everyone knows that behind that smile, Camilla is deeply worried. She doesn't want to show that to everyone. And according to a close source, Camilla is not just standing aside for show, she is quietly preparing. She is involved in organizing the transfer of power behind the scenes, supporting William as he takes on more and more responsibilities. She keeps the palace machinery running smoothly, protecting the king from unnecessary stress. Some believe that Camilla is the backbone, the pillar holding the royal family together amid the storm of media scrutiny. But alongside the praise, there are still doubts. Is her calmness a sign that the situation is far more tense than we've been told? The public began asking deeper questions, not only about Camilla, but also about how much pressure the entire palace is facing. While people continue to watch Camilla closely, another issue thought to have settled suddenly reignites controversy surrounding religion. It all started with a short video. King Charles appeared live, sending Ramadan greetings to the global Muslim community. Naturally, this was a gesture of religious harmony, reflecting diversity and a modern vision. But on social media forums, a fierce backlash campaign quickly spread. One side united in opposition, accusing him of favoring other religions rather than fulfilling his long-held role as defender of the faith of the Church of England. He has forgotten who he represents, a sharp political commentator declared. However, the response argued that precisely because he embraces an interfaith vision and is vigilant against prejudice, Charles remains committed to maintaining this broader inclusive image. Royal historians analyze this as part of a strategy to modernize the monarchy, bringing the British royal family closer to a globalized world rich in religious and cultural diversity. However, not everyone has welcomed this change positively. As King Charles's vision of a modern multicultural monarchy begins to take clearer shape, a segment of the public, and even some within the inner circle, have voiced strong opposition. For them, this is not simply a gesture of communication or an interfaith message. They see it as a sign of decline, an action turning away from tradition. However, this controversy erupted at the worst possible moment. As the king's health is declining, another storm, this time a spiritual one, is brewing. The crown is becoming fragile, a political analyst remarked. The division among the people is growing increasingly apparent, and that is something any monarchy fears, because when faith wavers, the throne wobbles too. But this is no longer just about a speech or a congratulatory video. It's about legacy. Charles's legacy, a king who always wanted to bring fresh winds to the monarchy, aiming to usher the institution into the 21st century. However, if his reign ends too soon, will that vision have enough time to take root, or will it fade into oblivion like an unfinished idea? If you found this story fascinating and want to learn more, don't forget to share the video and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any of our exciting videos. Now, let's continue the story together. And now that possibility, the prospect of a short reign, can no longer be ignored. The latest health reports from insider sources reveal that the king's condition has taken a darker turn. According to close doctors, his illness is progressing faster than expected. Early symptoms such as swollen fingers, prolonged fatigue, and occasional lapses in concentration were once considered insignificant. But now there's nothing subtle about it. Every sign is clear, and they are worrying. He's always tired, a palace staff member shared. He keeps pushing forward, still working every day, but you can see he's in pain. Charles refuses to stop. Meetings with the cabinet and parliament continue behind closed doors. Documents are still signed, papers are still reviewed. But his public appearances tell a different story, each one growing less certain, more fragile. He doesn't want to fade away quietly, a royal insider said. He wants people to remember this final effort, his dedication until the very end. And so every time the king appears, whether it's a greeting, a handshake, or a glance, it becomes a moment that makes the public ask, could this be the last time? Is he quietly saying goodbye? Some believe he is counting every remaining chance just to complete a few symbolic moments, a speech before the Commonwealth, a summer garden party, or a gesture of spiritual transition. He won't go quietly, a former royal aide asserts. Charles is a fighter, but no matter how strong the body, there are limits. And now even royal observers are shifting their tone. Words like a matter of national concern have started to surface on national television. The BBC is reportedly preparing obituary content in advance, a move usually reserved for when the gravest situation is imminent. Meanwhile, palace aides are said to be holding emergency meetings, preparing for every possible scenario. And the United Kingdom, with all its history and tradition, is preparing for something that many are still not truly ready to face. For just over a year ago, they had to say goodbye to Queen Elizabeth, the longest reigning and beloved monarch in British history. Now the nation stands on the brink of preparing for another farewell, one that could be even more painful and profound. A nation still in mourning, a crown still hanging heavy over many hearts. The United Kingdom cannot forget the aching sorrow when Queen Elizabeth took her final breath. Silence falling like a heavy rain. tears quietly streaming down the faces of its people and black ribbons tied around city gates as a last farewell. It was not merely the end of an era. It was the closing of a brilliant chapter in history, a reign that many were still unwilling to let go. And now, just over a year later, the entire country is once again bracing itself to face that pain. "We never truly ended the pain of losing her, a Londoner confessed live on the radio, and now we have to prepare to start all over again. For many, the thought of losing another monarch so soon, so suddenly feels like a burden too heavy to bear. The nation's overall mood has shifted. Even the usually bright and upbeat morning shows have grown somber and slow. A royal historian remarked, "Charles waited his entire life to become king, but it seems fate only gave him a chapter, not the whole book." People are struggling to adjust their emotions. The ink on the new banknotes is still wet, the mailboxes in the palace still bear Elizabeth's mark, and now they must face change that is too fast, too sudden. In small towns, prayer gatherings and candlelight vigils began to emerge. People spontaneously placed flowers outside royal residences without any prompting. Some couldn't even explain why they did it, only feeling that something monumental, another era, was coming to an end. A woman whispered near Windsor, "We sense the fragility not just of the monarchy, but of the entire nation." As the public prepared to face the inevitable, a quiet fear rose. Would Charles be remembered for what he tried to achieve, or just as a man defeated by illness before he could realize his grand ambitions? King Charles did not want to become a replica of his late mother. Rather, he aspired to be a new kind of monarch, one who cared more about practical actions than mere appearances. He was someone who showed deep concern for environmental issues, social diversity, and modern values. "I want the crown to serve the times, not be trapped by them," he once said. As the Prince of Wales, Charles spent decades championing causes that have become more important than ever today: climate change, organic farming, sustainable architecture, and racial inclusion. Back then, many laughed at his ideas, but now no one does anymore. But when he ascended the throne, his plans for reform and modernization had yet to take off. Projects aimed at changing outdated royal customs and efforts to simplify the role of the monarchy mostly remained unfinished drafts. He wanted to prove that the monarchy could evolve, that it could adapt to the new era. Yet illness took away the runway he needed to take flight. Inside the palace, silent disputes are also unfolding. There are disagreements over vision delays and even rumors that not all senior members of the royal family support his modern approach. Now, as his health deteriorates, many are asking, what will remain after he is gone? Will he be remembered for the changes he once initiated, or merely as a man who never had the chance to complete his mission? A journalist bluntly stated, "The tragedy is not just losing a king, but losing a king who never truly became the person he longed to be." And while the United Kingdom watches every step and challenge he faces, the rest of the world is not looking away. This is not merely a crisis for England, but a global transformation. Some countries, especially members of the Commonwealth, have already begun preparing for possible changes as the image of the king, the unifying symbol of the bloc, becomes more faded than ever before. But now, as King Charles's health deteriorates, the bonds that hold the Commonwealth together are beginning to show signs of fraying. From former colonies like Australia and Canada to Caribbean nations, quiet yet meaningful discussions have begun. These countries are asking a major question. Should they continue maintaining their ties to the British monarchy, or is it time for a comprehensive shift to completely sever the royal connection? A political analyst in Ottawa commented that King Charles's reign was once expected to strengthen the cohesion within the Commonwealth, an organization of former British colonies sharing common traditions and values. However, contrary to those expectations, the weakening health and influence of the king may become a turning point leading to the disintegration of the Commonwealth, leaving the organization facing an uncertain future. In Barbados, which officially abolished the British monarchy and became a republic in 2021, leaders have made sharp remarks reflecting a profound shift in relations with the United Kingdom. They have not hesitated to criticize what they see as an outdated institution no longer suited to the modern era. Other countries in the region are also beginning to openly question the purpose of maintaining a monarch they rarely have the chance to meet, and who may not remain for long. The affection for Queen Elizabeth remains respect, love, and deep mourning, but with Charles, everything is different. A Jamaican minister frankly shared, "We're curious about Prince William, but with Charles, there's no connection at all. His illness, tragic as it is, only fuels further conversations about the future of the monarchy in countries where anti-monarchy sentiments have been growing stronger." Analysts note that the longer Charles remains on the throne without showing renewed vitality, the harder it will be to convince these nations to continue their ties to the monarchy. Even within the United Kingdom itself, similar questions are being raised. Does the monarchy still hold its global stature and command respect in the hearts of the people? What does it still represent to the British people today, and who will be the one to restore trust and reverence? All eyes are now on Prince William, the eldest son, seen as a symbol of renewal and the hope for a new era. But can William bear this heavy responsibility while he is going through profound personal struggles? Prince William always knew this day would come, a close aide at Kensington Palace revealed, but he never expected it to arrive under these circumstances. Not while his father is ill, not while his wife is recovering from health challenges, and certainly not while he is raising young children under the pressure of an uncertain future. This is not a timeline anyone in the royal family wanted or planned for. Nevertheless, William is now forced to step into the spotlight because he has no other choice. He receives daily briefings on important royal matters and is gradually taking on the duties, meetings, and events that his father has postponed. Behind the scenes, William is quietly preparing for the inevitable, the mission to lead and protect the monarchy during this challenging time. He is grieving, but he is also learning very quickly, a close family friend shared. The public is watching his every move closely, every speech, every appearance, every interaction, and they no longer see an ordinary prince, but a man carrying a heavy responsibility. They don't just see a prince preparing to ascend the throne. They are witnessing a future king growing stronger every day under relentless pressure from the times. Prince William is not simply the heir to the crown. He is being tested in real time with all eyes on him during the most challenging moments. A royal expert once said, "William is being tested like never before." But the journey hasn't been easy. He's striving to balance the lofty duties of royalty with deep personal pain, loss, anxiety, and the heavy burden of an uncertain future weighing on his shoulders. In recent appearances, William has been seen with a more serious gaze, a somber expression, yet stronger and more determined than ever. A close source revealed, he doesn't want to become king under his father's illness, but he knows he has to be ready at any moment. The pressure is mounting, and in the minds of the British people, one question remains: how will this storm end? As the days go by and the silence grows heavier, the country waits, the family hopes, and the crown sits quietly yet uncertain about who will carry this sacred responsibility forward. Will King Charles abdicate before his health completely fails? In the palace corridors, that conversation has already begun. Senior advisors have secretly outlined contingency plans, carefully reviewing the necessary legal frameworks. A smooth transition plan is being drafted to ensure stability and order for the monarchy. One insider whispered he may not officially abdicate, but the handover process could start without any formal announcement. However, others believe King Charles will hold on to the throne until the very end, because for him, stepping down would be nothing less than a defeat, a surrender to a fate he has waited his whole life to fulfill. Meanwhile, Prince William is ready to step into his new role, the heir with the heaviest responsibilities. Camilla, the Queen Consort, continues her duties with calmness and dedication. Prince Harry William's younger brother is said to be waiting for a final call that could be decisive in healing or easing the long-standing royal wounds. A close aide revealed the king wants peace before it's over. Whether he achieves that remains a big question. This reign, though brief and tumultuous, will be remembered not just because of an illness or a health condition. People will remember how it ended, the unsaid words, apologies coming too late, and the complex relationship still unresolved. As England prepares to turn a new page in its history, there is a painful and undeniable truth: the crown now feels heavier than ever. And soon, someone will place it upon their head, someone who will continue walking the path of history, yet face unprecedented challenges. The farewell has begun. The world holds its breath, watching every moment unfold. The crown remains on His Majesty's head, but it seems to be slipping away. With each passing day, King Charles's silence echoes louder than words. This farewell not only marks the end of a reign, but could also redefine the monarchy forever, an ancient symbol standing at a crossroads of history caught between past and future tradition and modernity. If you found this video insightful about the changes in the British royal family and the future of the monarchy, don't forget to like and support us. Please share this video with your friends and family so we can follow this historic story unfolding together. And if you want to receive more in-depth analyses and the latest updates on important global events, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell right now. Thanks for joining us. See you in the next videos. Welcome back to the channel. The royal saga continues to unfold, and today we're diving into some jaw-dropping revelations you need to hear. In a dramatic new twist, Meghan Markle finds herself at the center of a royal crackdown, and King Charles has taken a bold step that's sending shockwaves through the palace. What triggered this sudden surge in royal tensions? Stay tuned as we unpack the latest bombshells and examine the impact this could have on Meghan the Crown and what lies ahead for the royal legacy. Trust us, you won't want to miss a second. Before we jump into today's video, I've got a quick question for you. How do you feel about King Charles's latest move involving Meghan Markle? Was it a justified decision, or did he take things too far? If you're on board with his choice, type 1 in the comments. If you think it crossed the line, drop a 0. Let us know where you stand, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button to stay in the loop and support the channel. King Charles has recently taken a hardline stance on Meghan Markle, a move so unexpected that even members of the royal family were reportedly caught off guard. This bold action, revealed by a royal insider, has sparked widespread discussion and controversy. Meghan's past controversies, including her outspoken remarks on racism and accusations of leveraging her royal ties for personal gain, have cast a long shadow over the monarchy. Now, after a prolonged period of silence, it appears King Charles has reached his breaking point and is no longer willing to remain. These scandals have not only sparked controversy within the British community, but have also cast a shadow over the reputation of the royal family, an institution that has stood for centuries. The question now is King Charles's decision a necessary step to protect the honor of the monarchy, or is he using this moment to assert his own power amidst the increasingly tense internal situation? The answer remains unclear, but this move has undoubtedly intensified the drama surrounding the royal family. Since joining the British royal family, Meghan Markle has become one of the most controversial figures in the monarchy's modern history. Her statements and actions have stirred turmoil within the royal family. Rather than remaining silent and adhering to traditional royal principles, Meghan has repeatedly shared personal stories that have damaged the monarchy's reputation. One of the most shocking scandals was the accusation of racism in her infamous interview with Oprah Winfrey, where Meghan revealed that members of the royal family had expressed concerns about the skin color of her son, Archie. This revelation sent shockwaves through the public and intensified the scrutiny on the royal family. In addition to the racism controversy, Meghan has become embroiled in another public debate involving her family with Harry. Recent rumors surrounding Meghan's pregnancy have ignited further speculation. Some have begun questioning the timing of her pregnancy and how she has managed to keep such personal information private. While these suspicions remain unconfirmed, they have raised concerns about Meghan's transparency when it comes to her family life, adding to the growing scrutiny surrounding her and her actions within the royal family. Another significant aspect of Meghan's journey is the accusation that she has exploited the royal family's name to build her personal brand. Since marrying Prince Harry, Meghan has risen to global stardom using the royal family's spotlight to propel her own career. High-profile deals with major companies like Netflix and Spotify have led many to believe that Meghan has no reservations about leveraging the royal family's fame for her personal gain. This has sparked criticism from those who feel she has crossed a line by using her royal ties for commercial success, raising questions about her true motivations. Although Meghan has defended her choices, public criticism of how she has handled these issues continues to intensify. The question remains, does she fully understand that her actions not only reflect her pursuit of personal fame, but also have a profound impact on the royal family's image? While she may be focused on her own path, the consequences of her decisions ripple far beyond her personal ambitions, affecting the legacy and reputation of the monarchy as a whole. Another issue surrounding Meghan and Harry is the growing suspicion about their finances. After stepping down from royal duties and relocating to the United States, questions have emerged about how they are funding their new lifestyle. Meghan has stated that she and Harry do not receive any funding from the royal family, but many remain skeptical about their transparency, especially given their involvement in high-profile events and lucrative deals with major companies. Their financial situation has become a point of contention, with critics questioning the authenticity of their claims and whether they are fully disclosing their sources of income. The financial situation of Meghan and Harry has raised a major question within the public. Are they truly transparent about their income sources, or are these high-profile events merely a means to sustain a lavish lifestyle despite the royal principles they once represented? These ongoing scandals have ignited strong criticism, both from the public and within the royal family, prompting many to question how Meghan and Harry are handling their finances and personal choices. As they continue to build their new life, the scrutiny over their financial dealings only intensifies, leading many to wonder if their actions align with the values they once vowed to uphold. Meghan's statements and actions have not only caused turmoil in her personal life, but have also significantly affected the image of the royal family. The question remains, does Meghan truly understand the consequences of her words and actions, or is she becoming entangled in an uncontrollable controversy? These scandals pose a major challenge not only for Meghan but also for King Charles, who finds himself caught in a difficult struggle between family loyalty and his duty to protect the royal family's reputation. As tensions rise, both Meghan and Charles face a defining moment that could shape the monarchy's future. As the head of the British royal family, King Charles cannot allow the ongoing scandals surrounding Meghan Markle to persist without taking decisive action. His responsibility goes beyond maintaining harmony within the family. He must also safeguard the reputation of an institution that has stood for centuries. With Meghan's controversies increasingly tarnishing the royal family's image, the question looms: can King Charles remain silent, or will he be forced to act to protect the family's honor, especially after Meghan and Harry stepped down from royal duties and publicly criticized the monarchy? The pressure on King Charles to take a stand is mounting, and the future of the royal family may depend on his response. While many in the royal family have remained silent, King Charles did not hesitate to impose punitive measures on Meghan. Some insiders within the royal family revealed that King Charles took steps to adjust the privileges Meghan and Harry once enjoyed, particularly tightening their financial dealings with major companies. This decision escalated tensions between the two sides. The question now arises: is King Charles being too harsh in his response to Meghan? Some argue that given the scandals Meghan has caused, these tough measures are necessary to protect the monarchy's reputation. However, others believe he could have chosen a more diplomatic approach rather than resorting to such severe punishment, raising questions about the balance between maintaining authority and family unity. An important question now is whether King Charles can achieve long-term results from these firm actions, or if they will only deepen the rift between the royal family and Meghan, making any future reconciliation impossible. While his strong stance may help shield the royal family from further public criticism, it also risks causing lasting damage to the relationships within the family. The tension created by these actions could undermine the unity of the monarchy, leaving scars that may not heal easily, even as the royal family seeks to navigate the complex dynamics of loyalty, duty, and public image. It is noteworthy that King Charles remained silent for a long time before deciding to take action, leading many to believe he was carefully weighing the consequences of his decision. The question arises: how can a family like the royal family preserve its dignity without causing lasting harm to its members? These challenges become even more apparent when considering the unique context of the royal family, where every action, no matter how small, can trigger significant shifts in both the power structure and family relationships. Balancing the preservation of the monarchy's reputation with the complexities of personal dynamics is a delicate task that King Charles now faces, with the potential for far-reaching consequences. In recent years, the private lives of royal family members have never been easy, as they are constantly under intense public scrutiny. As the head of the family, King Charles undoubtedly faces pressure from many fronts. However, his firm response to Meghan Markle, particularly in addressing the scandals she has caused, is a clear signal of how he intends to consolidate power and safeguard the monarchy from public threats. The unavoidable question remains: will these harsh measures truly help the royal family restore its reputation and dignity? Or will they only deepen the divide and cause lasting harm to the relationships within the family? The consequences of these actions are still unfolding, leaving the future of the monarchy hanging in the balance. After King Charles made his stern decision regarding Meghan, what stood out was her strong and public response. Rather than showing any signs of regret, Meghan continued to exhibit defiance and unapologetic behavior in the face of the royal family's decision. While those around her believe she should reflect on her actions and approach to family matters, she chose to openly confront them. Meghan didn't hesitate to criticize and assert that King Charles's actions violated her personal freedom. She refused to take responsibility for the situation, instead blaming the royal family for her and Harry's decision to step down from royal duties. This response has left many within the royal community feeling deeply disappointed and questioning Meghan's approach to the ongoing crisis. The question arises, how can someone continue to criticize a family that has provided them with an extraordinary life? Meghan continues to publicly criticize the royal family without fully acknowledging how fortunate she is to have become part of such a prestigious institution. Since joining the royal family, Meghan's character has sparked significant controversy. She was once admired for her intelligence and independence, but her recent actions seem to reflect a disregard for the core values of the royal family, such as privacy, respect for family, and upholding principles in all circumstances. Her approach has raised concerns about her understanding of the responsibilities that come with being part of the royal family and the lasting impact of her actions on her relationship with them. When someone continuously refuses to take responsibility, do they still deserve respect? This question not only targets Meghan, but also reflects a broader issue in modern society. Celebrities often find it easy to stand up, criticize, and oppose, but are they truly willing to face the consequences of their actions? With Meghan's constant statements and refusal to listen, she only complicates the situation further. While she claims to be fighting for freedom and justice, her actions and words present a less than flattering picture of respect and honesty. Her refusal to take accountability not only tarnishes her personal image, but also makes it harder for her to earn the respect she seems to seek. Many people believe that Meghan is using public attention to further build her personal brand, rather than addressing family issues in a peaceful and responsible manner. Her response to the ongoing tensions has also shocked the public. Many are left wondering why she cannot admit her mistakes, especially given that her actions have caused significant damage to the royal family's image. Does Meghan truly understand that what she is doing is wrong and flawed? If she genuinely seeks reconciliation, why has she shown no signs of attempting to apologize or correct her wrongdoings? This lack of accountability only deepens the divide and raises questions about her true intentions moving forward. On the contrary, Meghan's response has only made her more distant and unable to integrate with the values of the family she was once a part of. An undeniable fact is that Meghan is gradually becoming a controversial figure in the eyes of the public. Her decisions have not only strained her relationship with the royal family, but have also damaged her own image. The criticisms in the interview and the public revelations about the royal family's internal matters not only reflect a lack of respect, but also a careless disregard for the consequences her actions may cause. This ongoing behavior has left many questioning her intentions and the true cost of her actions on her personal and public life. Is Meghan's behavior a deliberate challenge or simply the result of a lack of consideration? Is she losing the opportunity to start fresh and make amends? Her actions seem to be increasingly distancing her from the possibility of acceptance and integration with the values that the royal family upholds. Rather than taking steps toward reconciliation, her continued behavior appears to drive a deeper wedge between herself and the institution, raising questions about whether she is truly aware of the long-term impact her actions could have on her relationship with the royal family and her public image. Meghan Markle seems to be treading a tense path with the royal family, unaware of the long-term consequences of her bold actions and words. Her failure to thoughtfully consider the repercussions has created a rift that may be nearly impossible to heal within the family. Meghan's arrogance and lack of self-awareness not only disappoint family members but also make the British public feel that they can no longer support her. While she continues to defend her stance, she risks losing not just the affection of the royal family, but also the admiration of the public. This ongoing defiance could ultimately isolate her, leaving her to navigate a more challenging future, both within the family and in the eyes of the world. Before we continue, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Do you think Meghan Markle should reconsider her approach and think more carefully about the consequences of her actions and words, or do you feel she should continue standing her ground? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Since joining the royal family, Meghan Markle has been a constant source of controversy. Her lack of respect for the principles and regulations of the monarchy has become increasingly evident through her contradictory actions and statements. Beyond the public scandals, Meghan has faced criticism for acts of deception and disrespect toward both the royal family and the public. These actions not only undermine the family's integrity, but also directly challenge the core values that the royal family has upheld for centuries. Her behavior has led many to question her commitment to the monarchy and her understanding of the responsibility that comes with being a part of it. One of the most notable aspects of Meghan's behavior is her lack of transparency and the contradictions in her statements. In interviews and public speeches, Meghan frequently makes claims and accusations without providing clear evidence to support them. She often contradicts herself, leading both the public and royal family members to question the honesty and consistency of her words. The question arises, does Meghan truly understand that what she is saying is flawed and misleading? Her tendency to make sweeping statements without backing them up has only added to the skepticism surrounding her, leaving many to wonder if she is aware of the impact her words have on her reputation and the royal family's image. When someone speaks without verifiable evidence, they not only harm those around them but also erode the trust of those who once supported them. One of the most significant issues with Meghan's behavior is her ongoing criticism of the values and principles that the royal family has upheld for centuries. While she claims that she has no intention of harming the royal family, her actions suggest otherwise. Her statements about racism, disregard for tradition, and criticism of royal life have led many to question, is Meghan's behavior a deliberate challenge to the monarchy, or is it simply a lack of understanding of the royal family's core values? This ongoing tension leaves the public wondering whether her actions stem from a calculated defiance or a fundamental misunderstanding of the responsibilities and expectations that come with being part of such a historic institution. Meghan continues to escalate the issue, not only by criticizing family members, but also by publicly sharing private details of her life. Her disclosure of intimate conversations with the royal family, matters that should remain private, demonstrates a lack of respect for the family's established rules and an insensitivity to others' privacy. When someone continually refuses to take responsibility for their actions, do they still deserve the respect of others? This ongoing disregard for boundaries and privacy has sparked widespread concern, leading many to question whether Meghan's actions are damaging her relationships, both within the royal family and with the public. If Meghan truly cared about maintaining a peaceful relationship with the royal family, she could have chosen a more thoughtful approach, instead of continuing to criticize and expose sensitive issues. One of the major criticisms of Meghan is her failure to recognize the consequences of her words and actions. She uses interviews to promote her own image, but seems unaware that her words are causing harm to the very family members she claims to care about. This lack of consideration for the impact of her actions has only deepened the divide between her and the royal family, making it harder for any reconciliation or understanding to take place. Every word Meghan says is closely scrutinized, yet instead of using her platform to address issues constructively, she has turned them into tools to maintain attention and fuel further division within the royal family. The question arises, does Meghan truly understand that her actions not only affect herself, but also tarnish the image of the family she was once a part of? Her lack of respect is evident not only in her inability to control her words, but also in her refusal to accept responsibility, acknowledge the truth, and correct her mistakes. This ongoing behavior has deepened the rift, leaving many to wonder if reconciliation is even possible. She seems to believe that everything can be resolved by covering up the truth or placing blame on others rather than confronting her mistakes and learning from them. This approach not only harms her personally but also seriously impacts the image and values of the royal family. By refusing to take accountability and address the core issues, she continues to undermine the very institution she was once a part of, further straining relationships and eroding the respect that should come with her position. Meghan has not only broken the royal family's rules, but has also tarnished her own image in the eyes of the British public and the world. When examining her actions from an objective standpoint, one can't help but wonder, does Meghan truly understand the impact of what she has done? Or is she simply sinking deeper into arrogance and a lack of self-awareness? If Meghan genuinely seeks reconciliation and wishes to repair her relationship with the royal family, can she reflect on her actions, acknowledge the harm caused and make amends? Or will she continue down this controversial path, further complicating the situation over time? The future of her relationship with the royal family may depend on her willingness to face these questions and take responsibility for her past actions. When King Charles decided to take strong measures against Meghan Markle, there were mixed opinions on whether these actions were truly necessary. His decision not only affected family relationships, but also created significant division within the public. The question that arises is whether the steps King Charles took were essential to protect the reputation and dignity of the royal family, or if they were simply a way for him to assert his power in a family already filled with conflict. This move has sparked debate, with some viewing it as a necessary step to preserve the monarchy's integrity, while others see it as an overreach that may further escalate tensions within the family. As the head of the royal family, King Charles could not remain silent in the face of the scandals and strong reactions from Meghan. When Meghan and Harry stepped down from royal duties, it created a deep rift within the family, and their continuous criticisms only worsened the situation. Meghan's accusations, ranging from claims of racism to a lack of transparency within the royal family, have pushed the monarchy into a defensive position, forcing it to protect both the family and the institution itself. King Charles, recognizing the severity of these challenges, was compelled to take action to defend the royal family's reputation and uphold its long-standing values. One of King Charles's significant decisions was to reduce Meghan and Harry's privileges, particularly in their participation in royal events. He also called for adjustments to Meghan's interviews and public actions, signaling that her behavior was no longer acceptable within the royal family framework. While this action is seen as necessary to protect the monarchy's reputation, the question remains whether such a harsh response is the only way to maintain the dignity of the monarchy, or if more conciliatory solutions could have been explored. The move has sparked debate, with some viewing it as an essential step to preserve the institution, while others wonder if a more diplomatic approach could have avoided further division within the family. It is undeniable that cutting off Meghan's privileges and relationships could cause deep harm not only to Meghan herself, but also to the entire royal family. While Meghan's actions have undoubtedly damaged the royal family's image, the question remains whether such strict measures are truly necessary. Could King Charles have handled the situation differently, perhaps through more diplomatic approaches, without resorting to harsh actions? Is there a possibility that the situation could have been resolved through a direct and honest conversation between family members, rather than escalating into an irreparable conflict? These questions reflect the complexity of balancing personal relationships with public duty and whether a more measured response could have preserved both family unity and the monarchy's integrity. The answer to this question is far from simple. In a family like the British royal family, where rules and traditions have been in place for centuries, protecting dignity and honor is paramount. However, did King Charles overreact in his response to Meghan? Some argue that instead of adopting a strong confrontational approach, King Charles could have explored opportunities for reconciliation, possibly easing the tension with more diplomatic efforts. But perhaps given the current context, such attempts at peace would have only heightened the conflict further, fracturing the already delicate family dynamic. The complexity of balancing family loyalty with royal duty makes it difficult to determine the best course of action, leaving King Charles to navigate a challenging and uncertain path. What's worth contemplating is that as royals, the family faces deeply complex internal issues. The choice between protecting the family's image and maintaining relationships between its members becomes increasingly blurred. King Charles's firm measures, while necessary to protect the royal family's reputation in the short term, could also have long-lasting negative effects. Cutting ties with Meghan may create a permanent void within the family, and perhaps in the future, when things have settled down, King Charles might regret not finding another less divisive way to resolve the conflict. The delicate balance between family unity and the public's perception of the monarchy makes this decision all the more complicated, leaving room for reflection on whether a different approach could have preserved both family harmony and the royal legacy. Not only for King Charles, but for everyone involved in the royal family's life, protecting the family's reputation is crucial. However, the question arises, is it possible to achieve this without causing serious consequences for those within the family? When a family faces so many storms, finding harmony becomes more challenging than ever. But the bigger question remains, is harshness and decisiveness the only way to protect the royal family, or is there still a path to reconciliation that King Charles could choose to help the family maintain unity in this challenging time? As tensions rise, the balance between authority, tradition, and family relationships continues to be a delicate one, and it remains to be seen if a softer, more reconciliatory approach could have resolved the conflict without further harm. Looking at the future of Meghan Markle and the British royal family, one cannot help but wonder, will Meghan ever be able to return to the royal family after all the conflicts and scandals she has caused? After stepping away from royal duties, Meghan and Harry shocked the public, creating a deep rift within the family. With all the criticism surrounding the scandals, coupled with the lack of tolerance from both the public and the family, the question arises, can Meghan reconcile and seek a place in the royal family again? While time and distance may offer a chance for healing, the road to reconciliation seems uncertain, with both Meghan's actions and the family's principles posing significant obstacles. Predicting Meghan's future is not an easy task. After everything that has happened, the question remains, can she repair her relationship with the royal family, or has she permanently distanced herself from them? Meghan has consistently criticized the family, and her public sharing of sensitive details about royal life may have cost her the opportunity to return. Her statements on issues such as racism and finances have not only harmed her personal image, but have also severely impacted her relationship with the royal family. These actions have turned Meghan into a highly controversial figure, making reconciliation with the family difficult, at least in the short term. The path forward appears uncertain, and it remains to be seen whether time or a change in approach could help mend the rift. Meghan has created a significant distance not only with King Charles, but also with the Queen, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, and many other family members. This makes the question of whether Meghan can ever return to the royal family incredibly complex. Does Meghan truly realize that her actions could result in her never being accepted back into the royal fold? A peaceful dialogue, one that includes honesty and acknowledgement of her mistakes, might be the only chance to rebuild this fractured relationship. However, one undeniable factor is the long-lasting impact these events have had on both Meghan and the royal family. The rift may never fully heal, and the scars left by these controversies could shape the future of their interactions for years to come. Meghan's past actions have left a deep wound in the royal family, one that may be difficult to heal, not just for the royal family, but also for Meghan's image in the eyes of the public. Her continuous criticism has eroded the public's trust in her, and the royal family can no longer remain silent in the face of it. It can be said that Meghan is now carving her own path, focusing on media deals and public engagements. She seems to be building her own career seeking influence through the organizations and humanitarian campaigns she is involved in. While she moves forward with her own ambitions, the question remains whether she will ever be able to mend the relationship she has strained with the royal family, or if she has permanently set herself on a different path. However, will these events continue to impact Meghan's reputation in the future? When someone chooses a public life like Meghan's, they inevitably face public scrutiny. If her actions continue to be controversial, the question arises, can she maintain her career and image without deepening the rifts in the public's perception? While Meghan has managed to carve out a space for herself through media deals and humanitarian work, the ongoing controversies could continue to overshadow her efforts. Her ability to sustain her career will depend on whether she can navigate these challenges and avoid further divisiveness, finding a way to rebuild trust and present herself in a more positive light. Meghan and the royal family are both bound by the long-term effects of this crisis. Whether Meghan continues on her current path or seeks reconciliation, the royal family will never return to the way it was before everything unfolded. The long-term effects of Meghan's actions on her life and the royal family are undeniable. The division within the royal family will not be easily healed, and it may continue to erode the monarchy's image in the eyes of the public for years to come. However, if Meghan finds a way to amend her actions, take responsibility, and acknowledge her mistakes, there may still be a chance for reconciliation. It will require genuine effort, humility, and time, but whether this happens will ultimately depend on her willingness to address the rift and rebuild the trust that has been lost. While it will not be easy for Harry to maintain closeness with the royal family, this situation has become more complicated than ever before. He has always expressed love and loyalty to his family, but Meghan's actions may force him into a difficult position where he has to choose between his wife and his family. Can Harry continue to maintain a peaceful relationship with the royal family while his wife continues to publicly criticize them, or will he decide that regardless of the consequences, Meghan will always be the one to stand by him first? These questions remain unanswered, and the future of Harry's relationship with both his wife and the royal family hangs in the balance with no clear resolution in sight. The future of Meghan and the British royal family remains a topic of intense public interest. This crisis has not only altered the relationship between Meghan and the family, but has also deeply impacted the royal family's image in the eyes of the world. The question persists. Will there ever be a day, once everything settles, when we will witness reconciliation, or will this always be an irreparable rift? The ongoing tension, the controversies and the actions taken by both Meghan and the royal family have left the possibility of reconciliation uncertain. Whether time, reflection, and genuine efforts to heal will eventually bridge the divide is yet to be seen, but for now, the future remains clouded with doubt. Thank you for watching today's video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you can stay updated on the latest videos. Share your thoughts on the actions of Meghan Markle and King Charles in the comments below. What do you think about their future in the royal family? Leave your answer and let's discuss it together. See you in the next video. They say the past never truly stays buried, and Queen Camilla is now facing the consequences of secrets she hoped would stay hidden. In a dramatic twist, she broke down in tears after allegedly being discovered tampering with personal letters belonging to Princess Diana. The emotional scene has sparked a media frenzy, fueling speculation and renewed scrutiny of the royal family's inner struggles. Let's unpack the full story behind this startling revelation right now. What's next for Queen Camilla, now that she's allegedly been caught destroying Princess Diana's letters? Will she face backlash or try to stay silent? Have you been following this drama? If you have, drop a 1 in the comments. If not, hit us with a 0. And hey, don't forget to like the video and smash that subscribe button to stay in the loop. At just 20 years old, Diana Spencer stepped into the royal world with dreams as grand as the palace itself. She never could have foreseen that her fairy tale would turn into a heartbreaking saga known around the globe. When she said yes to Prince Charles's proposal, Diana truly believed that love would be her greatest protection. But hidden behind Charles's distant smile was a presence that never faded: Camilla Parker Bowles, the woman from his past, who never really let go. As Diana did her best to be a devoted princess, a loving wife, and a gentle mother, Camilla quietly remained in whispered phone calls, tender glances, and the emotional distance Charles brought home every evening. With the pure heart of a young girl, Diana gradually realized that she was not just Charles's wife. She was the third party in her own marriage, and from that moment a silent war began between a suffering young woman and a more seasoned woman. This battle not only took away Diana's youth and trust, but also buried the dream of a fairy tale royal life she had once longed for. Although fully aware of the unusual relationship between Prince Charles and Camilla, Diana chose not to expose the scandal or make everything public. She didn't do this out of weakness or fear, but because Diana still believed in second chances, believing that Charles would return to her. She held on to the hope that what they once had could be salvaged. But love cannot be sustained from one side alone, and loyalty, when nurtured by just one person, will eventually collapse under the weight of betrayal. Diana didn't scream, but she wrote. She sent tear-stained letters, not begging, but delivering stern warnings. I know who you are in my story with Charles, and I will not remain a silent victim forever. One of the letters sent to Camilla was rumored to have said, I know what's going on, I'm not stupid. I see how he looks at you. I hear the whispers, but don't forget I am still his wife and I will not leave quietly. These letters caused both Charles and Camilla to worry, but Diana never made them public. Not because she was afraid, but because she wanted to protect the last shred of dignity of the man she once loved. Diana did not let the pain consume her completely. She kept writing each letter a wound, a challenge, a declaration that she would not be erased from her own life, even though she was the third party. One of the final letters she wrote, filled with a hollow tone, said, "If one day I disappear, remember that I lived and fought in silence for my children." Though no one knew whether Camilla ever responded to these letters, it was clear they made her uneasy. Diana, despite her pain and struggles, refused to let her life be buried in silence. Diana once confessed, "I tried, I loved, I forgave, I endured, but I was never blind." These words now echo like a prophecy, resonating long after Diana's tragic death in the car accident that shook the world. Her voice has fallen silent, but her letters remain standing as vivid proof of a woman who fought quietly, resiliently, with an immense sense of dignity. But what if I told you that Queen Camilla was caught in the act of something suspicious? She was destroying the final handwritten letters of Princess Diana. The flames in the palace fireplace consumed a silk ribbon, briefly revealing Diana's unmistakable handwriting, and then all that remained was ash. A royal assistant stepped in and everything changed. Camilla, cold and alone, was still in the room holding a bundle of old letters tied with a pale blue silk ribbon. The room carried a faint scent of lavender, but there was something else: the smell of smoke. Only a few minutes later, the flames licked at the pages, curling them up and blackening them. The paramedic only caught a brief glimpse, but it was enough to recognize the unmistakable scrawl of Diana's handwriting. A fleeting signature symbolic of her, and then it all vanished into ash. No one spoke, and then Camilla whispered something, but her gaze, filled with guilt and sorrow, made everyone stop. That night, whispers began to rise throughout the halls. One voice cut through the crowd: Queen Camilla just erased Diana's final truth. Those letters had been stored within the palace, but now they were destroyed. Why and who had ordered this silence? The answers remain unclear. The public was in an uproar, and the memory of Diana may never be the same again. Believed to have been written between 1990 and 1997, these letters were deeply personal and informal. They came from Diana's heart, not scripted, but rather her true thoughts and emotions, shared only with her closest confidants. Some of the letters contained Diana's pain as she felt abandoned, increasingly fearful of losing her son to a system she didn't trust. One line rumored to be among them reads, "They are shaping William in their image, not mine." Another letter is said to have expressed Diana's fear that history would be rewritten without her voice. These letters might also contain hints, hidden audio recordings that have never been made public. One document is believed to include a direct warning from Diana stating, "Until my voice is forgotten." Many believe she was alluding to Camilla in those words. The tension surrounding Diana's private writings is now clear, and we can't help but wonder, why were these letters never given to William and Harry? Who caught Camilla in the act of destroying these letters, and who exactly uncovered the truth? A palace assistant tasked with retrieving Queen Elizabeth's memorial diary returned to Camilla's office early. The door was unusually ajar, and the strange foul odor from a jar changed everything. Something much larger was being concealed, and the truth could be darker than we imagined. Strange smoke billowed in the air as Camilla stood frozen, holding a few torn envelopes and a half-burnt letter. She quickly jolted defensively, as if caught in the act. Her face was pale, her voice low, and it said that she murmured, "This is not what it looks like." But the damage was undeniably clear. The ash still smoldered in the fireplace. The assistant didn't ask anything more. They simply left in silence. Within 48 hours, they were transferred to Balmoral without notice, stripped of palace access and given no explanation. They just disappeared. Sources close to the royal family suggest that this transfer wasn't accidental but an order from very high up. But the question remains, why was this to protect Camilla or to safeguard what was in those letters? Camilla didn't sign the transfer papers, but everyone knew that the decision came from the highest authority. Questions swirl around why Camilla burned those letters, why now, and whether this was an act of closing the past or a political move to bury the truth. If anyone within the palace knew about this, they may have silently allowed the act, or worse, they could have been behind it. Diana's voice still looms, even after her death in 1997. Her voice never truly faded. From interviews to secret tapes, she left behind echoes that never ceased to resound. But it is the private, painfully honest, handwritten letters that many believe hold the untold truth. Those letters were said to have revealed Diana's fear that her story would be distorted after her passing. She expressed concerns about how Charles' inner circle had reshaped her image even while she was still alive. Diana called it a palace rewrite, a place that could one day erase her role, both as a mother and as the woman she feared the most. She worried that William and Harry would be exploited within a system she didn't trust. Another letter is believed to have confirmed these fears about history being rewritten without her voice. Some of the letters even highlighted how deeply William felt her pain, and Diana feared that one day their relationship would be severed. Diana was never afraid to challenge the institution, and even in her letters, she warned about the royal establishment's desire for control. One quote remains locked behind closed doors: "I am the complexity they cannot control." She wrote that she wanted to be remembered, not misrepresented. If those words were preserved, they could become Diana's final statement. But if they were destroyed, who would benefit from hiding this truth? One question still lingers. Is this a personal matter for Camilla, or a larger political move? Camilla has always walked a fine line within the royal family, from mistress to queen consort. Her path has been marked by public disdain and private strategies. When rumors emerged that she had destroyed Diana's letters, many wondered if this was her final attempt to silence the past. Royal sources claim that Camilla has long felt haunted by Diana's presence, not only in portraits or media articles, but also in Charles's memory. He had never truly let her go. An insider shared, the letters could represent much more than words. They could be ghosts she couldn't escape from. Others suggest that Camilla's motives might be far more calculated. If the letters painted a dark picture of Camilla or revealed the truth about Charles's behavior in their marriage, it could skew public perception, especially now that Camilla has solidified her role as queen. One source claimed that she feared a loud narrative war and took action. But it's unclear whether Charles was involved or if he simply turned a blind eye to what was happening. Some believe he knew about the letters but couldn't face what they revealed, fearing the damage not just to himself, but to the entire royal institution. Those observing within the palace couldn't help but wonder whether this was an emotional breakdown or a carefully calculated move. If it was a strategy, who else knew about it? The way silence gradually enveloped the palace now speaks volumes more than ever. People began to fear the royal family, with anxiety spreading quickly. After the firefighters began whispering cautiously, the palace doors were bolted even tighter, and questions about the fire were swiftly dismissed. Most notably, staff were warned not to mention those letters for the sake of the crown. A palace insider revealed that a separate fire report had been submitted. The inspector noted that unusual materials, neither wood nor kindling, but wax-sealed parchment and leftover ribbons were found. This isn't just someone burning notes. He is said to have remarked, "This is a deliberate act." Charles, reportedly shocked, but instead of confronting Camilla directly, withdrew. Some engagements were canceled, and the source claims he told his assistant, "It's over. Let's move on. No investigation, no accountability, just silence." Then the higher courts tried to prevent the story from spreading. They feared that public trust would collapse, but the news quickly spread. One question echoed through the old stone corridors of the palace. Who saw the letters before they were burned? It was this cover-up, not the fire, that they feared. If this scandal was being concealed to protect the monarchy, what else could be buried next? So as all efforts to conceal the truth seem powerless against its spreading, the big question still remains unanswered. Who was truly behind the destruction of these letters? Will more dark secrets stay hidden, or will they eventually be exposed to the light? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit subscribe to stay updated on the next developments. This story is far from over, and we'll continue to follow it closely. When the news reached Althorp Diana's ancestral home, it didn't come through an official palace statement, but rather through whispers passed from one assistant to another. The Spencer family's outrage was impossible to contain. Charles Spencer, Diana's brother, immediately reacted with intense anger. Family sources revealed that Earl Spencer was furious, asserting that the letters were not the property of the royal family, but of Diana, and were an emotional heirloom for the family. They were not political artifacts. It didn't take long for the Spencer family to launch their own audit at Althorp. Every letter, photograph, and private recording Diana had entrusted to her family was now under intense scrutiny. A cousin is said to have remarked, "If they can burn her truth, then they can erase anything else." Behind the silence from the palace, there was no apology, no explanation, only smoke echoes and silence. It was this that transformed pain into outrage. A Spencer relative said, "We trusted them, we were wrong. This is not just destruction, it's betrayal." Charles Spencer is said to have told a close friend that if the monarchy believed Diana's story had ended with just one fire, they might have miscalculated. Now Diana's bloodline demands answers. The question still hangs in the air: did William and Harry know about the letters before they were destroyed? The answer, according to insiders, is heartbreaking. They weren't even warned. William is said to have known about the existence of the letters, but he couldn't bear to learn from an assistant that he had never read them. The intense pain came from the fact that those writings were part of his mother's memory. To learn that they had been burned without his knowledge was a crushing blow. Harry's reaction was much more intense, distancing himself from the royal family. He often spoke of Diana's letters as the only way she could communicate with them. It's reported that Harry was furious, feeling betrayed once again. Neither of the two sons was informed in advance. No calls, no messages, only silence. And now, with the truth still smoldering in the ashes, both brothers are faced with a painful choice. Harry has always stood between two worlds, one with family and the crown, the other with his feelings for his mother. The pressure to protect the crown, especially with William, the future king, weighs heavily on him. The gloves may have been removed, and she wrote those things for us. Now they are lost, and we no longer have a voice. Prince Harry's close friend relationships with Charles and Camilla have become severely fractured. All of this seems to point to someone long forgotten, a woman who once protected those letters, Edith Travers. Edith Travers was the royal archivist dedicated to cataloging Diana's letters for over a decade. She was the protector of those letters' secrets, working under strict confidentiality. However, when she suddenly retired without a farewell, concerns about changes within the palace began to emerge. Particularly when Camilla requested private access to Diana's archive, Edith opposed, and then she vanished. Even more unsettling was the last email she sent to a former colleague. "Be careful, Diana's truth is in danger. They are not protecting her memory, they are erasing it." After retiring, Edith declined all interviews, and her house in Wiltshire fell silent with no one able to reach her. The curtains were always drawn and calls went unanswered. Did Edith know something? Did she suspect that someone had planned to destroy the letters, or was she pushed out to make things easier? Regardless, one thing was clear. She believed something was about to happen, and she didn't trust that the palace would stop it. She had warned them, but they ignored her. And if Edith Travers held a copy or had knowledge of a second archive, the palace might not have destroyed everything. This makes her the key to what is about to unfold. If one letter still exists, it could shed light on everything. The public's reaction was intense. Anger, sorrow, and suspicion spread rapidly. When news of the letters leaked, hashtags like #eJustice for Diana and "When Letters Not Ash" began to explode across social media platforms. TikTok and Reddit users started dissecting interviews, and discussions about conspiracies and timelines continued non-stop. Candles at Kensington Palace began to flicker as the public not only mourned Diana, but also grieved the truth they felt had been stolen from them. Royal watchers and historians couldn't contain their emotions. One television commentator called it an act of historical sabotage, while another wrote, "Camilla has turned the fireplace into a symbol of fear." Emotional tributes flooded in, with some people even admitting they weren't alive when Diana passed. Her story continued to shake the world. Petitions began collecting over 500,000 signatures in just 3 days, demanding transparency and a full investigation. People wanted all remaining letters to be made public. Protesters appeared outside Buckingham Palace holding signs that read, "Her truth deserves more than a memorial fire." Royal groups also planned marches and public readings of Diana's surviving words. Against this backdrop, trust in the monarchy fractured even further. This was not just a public issue, but a major crisis. Diana represented compassion, rebellion, and honesty. If her final words were erased, what message would that send? Diana spoke from the heart, and now they wanted her silent. Those attending the prayer vigil at Kensington, while people cried out for answers, found one man silent. His silence might speak more than words ever could. Was Charles protecting Camilla? Or was it Charles himself who was keeping quiet? Charles's public appearances have always been rare, and he never directly faces the press. There is even no information about his sons. Behind that silence is a storm of speculation. People wonder, what does his silence really mean? Within the palace walls, there are whispers that Charles is deeply conflicted. He is not just a king, but also a husband, a father, and especially a man who once called Diana the love of his life. Yet when it comes time to protect her memory, he remains silent. Some believe Charles is protecting Camilla out of loyalty, while others think he feels guilty. Those close to Charles say the atmosphere within the family is extremely tense. William is said to have distanced himself, even canceling several private meetings with his father. Meanwhile, Harry, with his anger and detachment, is reportedly considering a public statement. He wants to protect the truth. An insider revealed that while Charles didn't order the destruction of the letters, he also didn't prevent it from happening. His failure to act could cost him more than public support. It could tear apart the unity within his own family. Charles has faced an important choice to speak out in defense of Diana or remain silent, and he chose silence. The palace is now in full damage control mode, with press staff working overtime and lawyers standing by behind closed doors. New public relations strategies are being drafted, one of which includes a neutral and carefully worded public statement devoid of emotion. Another plan even suggests putting William forward to help quell the rising storm. However, insiders warn that William will not lie no matter the reason. While Charles's silence has caused a rift between him and the heirs, the question remains, are there more of Diana's letters? Diana was known to be very cautious, often copying her sensitive writings under legal advice. She had backup copies of some letters and sent them to trusted allies abroad. Another collection is rumored to be stored in a safe in Switzerland under a false name. A batch may have even been handed over to her personal lawyer who retired in the early 2000s. Rumors about the final letter Diana wrote just days before her fateful trip to Paris have drawn significant attention. A royal historian has claimed to have seen a copy of this letter. Not only emotional, but the letter also carries political weight. Diana named specific individuals and connected various events. If this letter is authentic, it could change royal history. The question now is someone holding on to it? And if so, how much longer until the world sees it? This is a surprising truth. Insiders suggest that a royal family member may have quietly sought out those letters, unsure whether to destroy them or make them public. The firestorm may have silenced one voice, but not all of them. A former royal reporter believes the truth hasn't completely vanished, it's just waiting to rise from the ashes. Diana's legacy is once again at the forefront, but this time, it's not just in memories, documentaries, or charitable foundations. This time, it's on the battlefield of truth, confronting memory and facing the monarchy. At the center of the firestorm stands Queen Camilla, her image unraveling under the weight of actions that could haunt the crown for generations. Royal insiders say the palace is working to control the damage. Despite Camilla's plummeting approval ratings and increasingly harsh headlines about her, the palace remains silent, hoping the noise will eventually die down. However, Diana's voice proves difficult to silence, and the question now is, what will those closest to Charles do? Some speculate that he is preparing a quiet memorial, while others quietly wonder if Charles might be holding on to a personal collection of letters he has yet to read. One day, he might share everything he knows. One day, he might speak out, expressing his sorrow for the second time, but this time for Diana's voice. Those within the royal family close to Prince William and the monarchy itself, in an era where institutions are collapsing and the public is awakening, will have to make a decision: silence or accountability. For the millions who loved Diana across the world, only one question remains, echoing louder than any royal statement. Why was Diana's voice treated as a threat? The letters may have vanished, but the fire they sparked continues to rage. Public trust is slowly eroding. The royal family now faces a major crisis. Although Diana's voice was silenced by the flames, it refuses to be quieted. Will the truth ever be revealed? And if the dark conspiracies Camilla once concealed in the shadows of the palace are brought into the light, how will the world react? Will the crown remain on Camilla's head, or will it become a symbol of betrayal and manipulation, marking a dark chapter in the history of the British monarchy? No one can forever conceal the darkness under the light of justice. Camilla ascended the throne not through the love of the people, but via a controversial path built on the pain of another woman, Princess Diana. If the missing documents, confessions, or recordings that Diana is believed to have left behind truly exist, could the day when Camilla loses everything come sooner than she expects? Not just the crown, but her reputation, respect, and place in the hearts of the British people will be at risk. The question remains, will the public forgive Camilla? Will history view her with sympathy, or will Camilla become a living symbol of an era where lies and temporary power triumphed over truth? Only time and William can answer this question. But one thing is certain, if the truth comes to light, the shockwave it causes will not only shake Buckingham Palace, but also rewrite the legacy of a woman once seen as a replacement, but who was never truly a queen in the hearts of the people. So just when everything seemed to be settling down, a bombshell, truth explodes, forcing the entire royal family to face questions with no clear answers. Will this incident plunge Camilla into an even bigger crisis, and will the public show mercy or criticize her for her past actions? Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated on the next developments. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about this shocking event? We'll see you in the next video. Make sure to stay tuned.